Our film begins in Tokyo, in the year 1950, inside a martial arts dojo. We see our hero, Wright, asking the master, "Where is he?" The master tells them to sit down. Wright points to a picture and asks again, "Where is the man in this picture?" The master tells him, "You are asking about my father." Wright says to him, "I knew your father during the war." The master then says, "My father spoke about you often, about the white man who knows Eastern martial arts, a great warrior, possessing forbidden skills. And today you have come here to bring shame upon our family?" He orders the trainees to attack Wright, but Wright truly proves to be a legendary fighter, managing to strike them all down, and none of them were a match for him. So, the master ordered them to stop the fight. We go back in time to 1942 on an island in the Philippines during World War II. We see Wright emerging from the water and dragging his fellow pilot after their plane crashed. The next day, he is hiding in the forest. Japanese soldiers were searching for him. Wright was hiding from them, armed with a dagger. As soon as they got close to him, he attacked the first one and finished him off and kicked the second one with his legs, sending him flying. The soldier fell on a mine and exploded. The remaining soldiers went towards the sound of the explosion and surrounded him from all sides, then took him to the Japanese camp. There, he saw a group of captive soldiers who were being forced to entertain their captors with spider fights. Wright arrives at the camp and meets the commander. The commander learns that he is from the British Air Force and the sole survivor of his unit. He orders the soldiers to behead him. A group of soldiers takes him into the forest to behead him there. When they reach the spot, they force him to his knees. But just before the officer reaches his neck, Wright manages to dodge the sword at the last moment and attacks the two soldiers. He kills the first one with the dagger he had, throws the dagger at the second one, finishing him off, and starts fighting the officer. He takes the officer's sword, kills him with it, and quickly escapes from the place. But as he is running through the forest, he finds an old, abandoned airplane, completely surrounded by vegetation. He continues running through the forest, hoping to escape from them, but he falls into a trap, and the dagger he had with him falls away from him. The Japanese catch up to him and take him back to the camp. They bring him before the commander. The commander asks them, "Why isn't he dead yet? Didn't I order Hirano to kill him?" The officer says to the commander, "Unfortunately, we found Hirano and the soldiers with him dead in the forest. This British man is the one who killed them." The commander becomes very angry, goes to Wright, and takes his dog tags from him. He also finds a war hero medal with him. He says to Wright, "Officer Hirano was like a brother to me." Wright said to him, "My sincere condolences." The commander says to him, "Sleep well tonight, for tomorrow you will die." The officer asks, "Why didn't you kill him?" But the commander tells him, "The entire camp hates him. They will watch him die in combat." The officer hands him Hirano's sword and leaves. We see the soldiers taking Wright to the cell, where he will sleep. When night falls, a group of prisoners is put in the cell with him. A man with a beard, whose name is Bright, introduces himself and says, "This is the Greek spot. Come, take this place." He was alone. His name was Siemens, but he died today, so you take his spot. They ask him, "How did you get here?" He tells them there were 10 pilots on a mission to support Allied forces. They had intel that this island was under Filipino control, but it turned out to be wrong intel. "Everyone with me died. I'm the only survivor." This person's name is Gabriel, an American pilot. Gabriel asks Wright, "Will the British come to rescue us?" Wright says, "I don't think so, because they think we're all dead." Gabriel tells him, "Here, we maintain military rank respect and share all information with each other. We have a leader for the cell, Captain Collins. He's in another camp and will return tomorrow." Wright tells him, "I won't be here tomorrow. I killed 3 of Commander Ito's men, and I'm sure he's waiting for a bullet with my name on it tomorrow." The old rusty man says to him, "It's easy to escape from the camp, but in the end, you'll come back because there's nowhere to go. The best solution is to follow orders and work in the camp, or you go to the other camp 60 miles away. You go on foot, either you die on the way or you arrive and see hell there. So if you're lucky enough, they slit your throat and you're spared all this suffering." Early in the morning, we see the Japanese soldiers in the camp training, and Commander Ito himself is training them. We learn that Ito has set up a combat arena inside the camp, and anyone who misbehaves is punished by being put into a fight to the death. After the training, we see Wright in the combat arena, sitting and tied up, waiting for Ito. What will his fate be? Ito comes out of his tent and signals to the officer with his hand. Wright thinks they will kill him with the sword, but the officer cuts the rope, and they take Wright out of the ring. They bring these 3 men into the ring. Their accusation is that they had extra food beyond their ration, and they must be made an example for the rest of the camp. A very powerful Japanese fighter comes out, and on Commander Ito's orders, he enters a fight to the death with the 3 prisoners. He manages to take them out one after another. After he kills the 3, Wright is brought into the ring. The Japanese fighter is about to attack Wright, but Wright delivers a powerful kick that sends him flying. The entire camp is astonished. Here, Wright uses a secret forbidden technique. He strikes the Japanese fighter with a single blow from his hand, finishing him off. Of course, Ito couldn't believe his eyes. How could a Westerner know their secret techniques? He entered his tent, extremely angry. The officer followed him in and urged him to eliminate Wright immediately, as his presence was a danger to them. The commander said that Wright knows things he shouldn't and that he will die soon, so not to worry. Gabriel says to Wright, "Are your hands made of rock?" Captain Collins meets Wright and tells him, "I'm glad you're with me, not against me," and offers him a drink together. He tells the man with the beard to make them a drink. Wright asks the captain, "What happened to your knee?" He replies, "I was in a place with a bomb. Shrapnel got into it. I was lucky enough to be the only survivor." He asks him where in England he's from. Wright says he was born in England, but raised in Hong Kong because his father worked in trade there, and that's where he learned martial arts. As they are talking, Japanese soldiers come and take Wright. We see Commander Ito with a nurse making tea for him. Wright is brought in. Ito tells him, "You are a professional fighter," and asks him, "Who trained you in our styles? Did you train in Japan?" Wright tells him, "I trained in many places." Ito says to him, "You revealed your style, and indeed, most of it is a forbidden style." He notices that Wright is very interested in the medal he took from him and asks, "Was your father a war hero?" Wright says, "Yes," and asks for the pendant back. The commander says to him, "You might see your father soon, because I will send you to him soon," and wounds him in the face with his sword, saying, "Rest well today, for tomorrow you will die." The soldiers take him back to the cell. The next day, there are 3 fighters waiting for him in the ring. As usual, Ito is sitting watching the fight. Although they are professional fighters, Wright's skill level is far superior, and no one can match him. Even when the 3 attack him together, no matter how hard they try, Wright manages to overcome them. He was about to kill one of them, but spares him, and doesn't kill him. Ito salutes Wright out of respect for his skill. In the cell, they ask him, "Why didn't you kill the soldiers?" He tells them, they are just soldiers following Ito's orders, they are not to blame. However, the 3 soldiers are sentenced to execution. Wright asks them if there is any way they can contact the Allied forces to come rescue them. They tell him there are radio devices in the towers, and that he should get one. The next day, while they are working in the camp, they begin to execute their plan. They start a riot in the camp, so all the soldiers gather to break it up, including the soldiers in the tower. Wright seizes the opportunity, climbs the tower, steals a radio, and comes down before anyone notices. The plan succeeds, but as Wright is returning, the nurse sees him. However, she doesn't tell the soldiers about him and asks, "Are you going to help us escape from here?" He says, "I'm trying." Back in the cell, he asks the man with the beard to record everything he hears on the radio. The next day, Commander Ito questions the prisoners and says to them, "I found out that some people from the camp are going to forbidden areas." When he points at one of them, the man breaks down and says, "It wasn't me. It wasn't me." The soldiers bring him to the commander, who asks, "Who was it?" The prisoner then points to another one. The soldiers bring that man too. Ito orders the soldiers to shoot them with fire and says to those in the camp, "This is a lesson for all of you." When they return to the cell, Wright asks Johnny to tell him how to escape from the camp, as he is the only one who knows the escape route. But Johnny tells him, the problem isn't escaping. The problem is that no matter how far you escape, you'll be brought back. Wright says to him, "I don't want to escape. I want to know how to get out and come back again." So, they show him the route, and the escape plan begins. Wright places the pillow, pants, and boot under the blanket in his place. He escapes from the cell, putting the wooden planks back behind him so no one would notice. He reaches an area with no guards, crawls under the wires, and puts everything back in its place exactly as it was. The supervising officer comes in to check that everyone is in their place. He pulls the blanket off Wright's bed, but when he sees the boot and pants, he doesn't suspect anything and leaves. Wright reaches the top of the hill, turns on the radio, listens to the messages being transmitted, and returns to the camp exactly the same way he left. The next day, the captain asks Wright, "What did you see and hear?" He tells them, "The Americans are near the bay." Gabriel asks him, "How did you know?" He replies, "I heard the Navajo language. It's a language used by the Americans in the war, so no one can understand their messages." He also tells them that he found an abandoned glider, and that it could help them escape from here. The captain says to him, "You're crazy. That's a glider. Without engines." He tells him, "A C-47 plane could tow it with us inside." He convinces them with the plan, and they agree to help him. The soldiers come and take Wright to the commander. Ito orders the soldiers to bring a chair for him, and he sits down. The commander asks him, "What do you know about the Navajo language?" He replies, "It's a language the Americans use, but I don't know it. And even if I did, why would I help you?" The commander says to him, "If you help me, you will have a special place in this camp." Ito says to him, "Saving one's life is a powerful motive." Wright replies, And saving one's homeland is a stronger motive, the commander tells him. You and your comrades, none of you will leave this camp alive. Wright says to him, and I will kill your fighters one after another. Enraged, the commander hits the table with his hand, breaking it, and his hand gets wounded. The next day, we see Wright in the fighting ring, but this time his hands are tied. Ito orders 3 of his men to beat him with sticks. With each ring of the bell, the fighters strike him simultaneously. The beating causes him to bleed from all over his body, until he collapses to the ground from exhaustion. At that point, they untie his hands, and a new round begins inside the ring. Despite his broken body and being unable to stand properly, Wright manages to overcome them. Despite everything they did to him, he still refused to kill any of them. In the end, an officer comes and hits him with the butt of a rifle, knocking him to the ground. Commander Ito is boiling with rage. He goes over to the prisoners, selects a few of them, and shoots them dead. He tells the others, these ones are lucky because they died and won't see the torment I will put you through. Later, we see Wright waking up after having been unconscious for 2 days due to his severe wounds. The nurse, Teresa, tells him, Commander Ito is the one who ordered you to be brought here to treat your wounds. This is strange because only Japanese soldiers are allowed here. At night, Commander Ito comes to him while he's sleeping and says, your strength has returned to you. Today you will rest, but, before he can finish his sentence, Wright replies, I will die tomorrow. I know. Wright asks him, why are you keeping me alive until now? Ito says to him, your teacher taught you well. You do him honor. Wright says to him, none of your men can defeat me. How about you fight me yourself? They hear the sound of shelling outside. So Wright says to him, it seems they are getting closer. Ito says to him, you should be more afraid of me, because I will kill everyone. Wright returns to the cell. His comrades check on him. They read a message dropped by an American plane over the camp, warning the Japanese commanders and soldiers against mistreating prisoners, or the response will be brutal. At night, Wright and Gabriel sneak out of the camp, but a Japanese soldier sees them. Wright quickly dispatches him with a single kick. An officer suspects something is happening and goes to investigate the sound, but they manage to subdue him. Wright tells him, I don't want to kill you. Pretend you didn't see us. And he actually helps them get out of the camp. However, they find that the captain has also killed a Japanese soldier. The soldiers go to the cell and wake everyone up, but they discover that all the prisoners are present. The next morning, we see the captain in the fighting ring. Commander Ito says to them, last night, some prisoners left their cell and attacked the guards. Wright says to him, I was the one who did that, not the captain. Ito says to him, I respect your courage, but my soldiers saw him. He brings one of the prisoners and orders Wright to perform the forbidden strike on him, and he will pardon the captain. But Wright refuses. Ito gets angry and orders one of his soldiers to kill the poor man. Afterwards, he orders the fight in the ring to begin, but this time it's 3 soldiers against the captain. At first, the captain tries to be the fastest. He manages to strike the first one, takes the second one out of the ring, bites his neck, and tears a piece of skin from it. Another soldier tries to hit him and gets in, but the captain was truly strong and also skilled in boxing. Ito was watching the fight, boiling with anger. The captain grabs 2 of the soldiers and smashes them through the cell wall. Ito becomes even angrier and goes into his tent. The soldiers stop the fight and take them away. We cut to Ito, with Wright in the tent. Wright says to him, we are prisoners of war. There are laws. But Ito says to him, you are in my camp, and there are no laws except mine. Anyone who challenges my authority, I will kill. Wright says to him, be brave and come into the ring against me. Ito becomes very angry, orders the guards to hold Wright, and headbutts him. He says, you are not as smart as I thought. The officer orders the soldiers to take him to work. Gabriel asks him, what happened? Wright tells him, we must send the signal tonight, Gabriel says, but as soon as we send the signal, they will locate our position and find out. So, Wright says, that's why we'll send the signal from the hill. At night, Wright and Gabriel go out and reach the hill. Gabriel begins sending the encrypted signal to them, and the Americans reply. They are happy and quickly return to the camp before being discovered. But as soon as they reach the cell, it's empty. They quickly hide the radio before the guard sees it. The Japanese soldiers enter and hit them on the head. The next day, Wright and Gabriel wake up, tied with rope, to the sound of shelling and aircraft. The nurse Teresa comes to them, cuts the rope to help them escape, and tells them, right after you were captured, Allied planes started flying over the camp and bombing it. Commander Ito went insane and started killing everyone. They try to escape from the camp. Corpses are everywhere, and gunfire comes from all directions. They go to get the radio but find it destroyed, so they go to the watchtower to get one from there. Teresa says to Wright, "I'll handle this task," tricks the soldier in the tower, and kills him. Wright and Gabriel climb the tower and take the radio. Gabriel sends the signal to the American army to come rescue them. Wright sees that his comrades are about to be executed, so he shoots at the soldiers. They can't pinpoint the source of the gunfire, so they scatter everywhere. We see the bearded man in disbelief. He grabs a dagger and starts killing any soldiers he encounters. Gabriel fights the officer, but the officer is a professional fighter and manages to strike Gabriel, nearly killing him with a dagger. But at the last moment, the captain arrives and saves him. The captain and the officer engage in a fierce fight. The officer almost breaks the captain's arm, but the captain is physically stronger. He manages to lift the officer and throws him to the ground. The officer attacks again, but the captain pins him down and relentlessly punches him, nearly finishing him off. However, a Japanese soldier shoots the captain in the back, and sadly, he dies. We see Wright standing near the commander's tent. As soon as he enters, he finds Ito waiting for him. Ito hands him a sword and says, "No one will escape today." One of the most intense sword fights you could ever witness begins between them. Wright manages to disarm Commander Ito, but Ito evades the two swords now with Wright. Then, Ito tries to shoot Wright, but Wright is faster. They move outside the tent, and Wright punches Ito in the face. Gabriel arrives and quickly pulls Wright away to escape the camp. As they flee, the officer is about to shoot them, but Ito stops him. Wright and Ito lock eyes, sharing a final look of understanding. They reach the glider and begin attaching a hook to it, so the cargo plane coming to rescue them can tow them using the hook they've prepared. Gabriel fires a flare into the sky. The planes see it and head to their location. They get inside the glider, and the cargo plane successfully hooks and tows them, completing the rescue mission as they soar into the sky. They are ecstatic, unable to believe they escaped the camp alive. We return to Wright in the dojo, asking the master about Commander Ito. The master tells him that Ito died a year ago and asks the students to leave the hall. He pleads with Wright to show him his legendary fighting skills. Wright agrees. Of course, Wright easily overpowers him. No matter how hard the master tries, Wright's skill level is far superior. Finally, the master asks Wright to show him the forbidden strike. Wright performs the strike but stops his hand just before it reaches the master. The master is awestruck by Wright's power. Before Wright leaves, the master gives him his father's medal and says, "My father, who was Ito, told me a white man would come for the pendant." Wright bids farewell to the master, gives him a salute, and departs. And that concludes today's film. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and hit the bell icon to stay updated. Share your thoughts in the comments, and stay tuned for the next summary. Goodbye!